Welcome to the Jazz Piano School podcast, where we have one mission, that's to help as many interested people around the world learn and improve at jazz piano by providing structured and organized jazz piano education. I'm your host, as always, Brendan Lowe, and thank you so much for joining me today. This is going to be episode number 81. This is the YouTube tutorial. In order to hear the full-length audio podcast, you can go to jazzpianoschool.com/JPS podcast, or you can go to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast as well. Now, I did the the analysis for I Should Care last week, part 1, and I'm doing part 2 in this episode. Now, if you want to receive the written notation, you can click on the link below in the notes, or you can go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast 81. So, let's dive right in. So I'm going to go about doing the second section of I Should Care. So in the chart, it starts off with an F sharp minor 7 flat 5. Now this is kind of more of a reharm rather than doing the D minor 7 to G7 again, right? Instead of going this, right, we have the F minor 7 flat 5. So you can kind of do either, right? Since I did the D minor 7 the first time, I'm going to do the F sharp minor 7 flat 5 for you now. So let's see what happens. I haven't really played much today, so let me kind of, I'll get into the last 4 bars and see where I start to lead into. I don't really remember the tempo either. Let me see. I don't really remember what I played in the last episode either, right? This is how spontaneous it was. I kind of remember. So what I just played there again. So I started on the 7. Okay, lots of arpeggios are happening in jazz, right? That is all just chord tones, right? You hear a lot of arpeggios and you're like, what is that arpeggio? Most of the time it's just chord tones. So here I went 7, 5, 3, 7, right? Of the F sharp minor 7 flat 5 chord. And my target note was the 3rd of the B7 chord. Now, I did want to continue that line, but I stopped to explain that to you, so let's see what comes out here after that. I don't really like that. Now, again, for your B7, after coming from a minor 7 flat 5, you have multiple options. I mean, you can use your altered scale, you can use your half whole scale. Right, you can use your full altered scale, or you can kind of simply play around more or less with the chord tones. This kind of style with your flat 9 in there. Let me see here. What I like to do, a really nice sound to, is to not really think about the B7 as much, but more think about your resolution into the minor chord that it's leading up to, or whatever chord it's leading to. So what I just did there, I think I'll stick with. That's leading to the 3rd as well. And again, what we're doing here is simply outlining. Once we get to this F sharp, right, this is simply the 5 of the B7 chord. But you can also think about it as the surrounding approach notes, right? Half step below, chord scale above, half step below, and then resolution to the 3rd, resolution to the 3rd. So another 3rd. So I've played, again, going for the 3rds is never a bad way to play through harmonies. Anytime you're hitting the 3rds, you're going to be hitting the clear notes that are changing. The 3rds are always leading into each other, right? Remember that. So, I mean, you have the 3rd here, right? So the notes that move, the G moving to the A, the A on the F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to the D sharp, right? For the B7, G of the E minor 7 to the C sharp of the A7. So I like that. Let me see if I like that. So we kind of had a pattern there. I'm just, again, as I'm playing through this, guys, I'm just kind of thinking what I'm hearing in my head or what I'm kind of feeling. So we had a lot of space. I kind of want to end it with a line, maybe something like that. I like that. It's more of a simple, nice approach. That's more the honest approach, right? Not trying to BS too much. So here we have the, again, this kind of little chromatic thing is nice, right? And if you go back to the Elegance in Class podcast, these little chromatic rolls are really nice. They're really flavorful, right? You're adding a lot of flavor with these little types of, right? I could have done this, but that's just all eighth notes. When you add that little gap with the roll in it, listen to how the difference in sound it sounds. Right? Just a little bit more flavor. The double quarter note thing is fun because it's kind of like a nice ending, and it really kind of lays into the swing as well. Now here, I'm starting my line with a half step below approach, right? And 1 and 2 and D, triple it, da, da. So, and again, here I'm going up to my flat 9 and sharp 9. This is a very common jazz language move, right? You hear this line a lot. You hear that, right? So moving up into your flat 9 and sharp 9 is a very common way to add tension over the dominant chord and then release it into your major chord. But instead of that common lick, I just simply played my half-step approach. I add a little grace note here for a little flavor, and then just doubled the E. And that kind of finished the phrase off, right? So as you can hear, I kind of tied up the phrase. We had some small motion in the beginning, some gaps, some space, and then I ended it with more of a continuous line that kind of said, okay, that's the end of my sentence, right? Listen again. Sorry. Let me play it again. End of, like, period, right? End of your statement. That's what you kind of want to go for. Now, to our E minor 7 flat 5, I'm starting a completely new phrase here. I kind of like that. Again, that was just spontaneous. Let me see. I don't even remember what I did now. I think I did that. So what I'm doing here, I'm starting on the natural 2, okay? One of my extensions available for my flat 5. And again, I'm kind of playing solo piano-ish here. If you're using the solo for, a band, or if you're comping your voicings, right? You could use just 3, 5, 7 here. Maybe you could add the 9 if you wanted to double the natural 9 you're using in your right hand. You could do that as well. And then so what I'm doing here, right? This is just an approach to the third, half step below. Again, this is the natural 9, though. You can think of it both ways. 3, chord scale above, 3. So just playing around the third. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm anticipating the C, which is the sharp 9. Okay, this is a very common altered pattern. I forgot what I played. So I think I did that, yeah. And I'm doing a little thumb drop motion. You could do this as well, crossover. It's probably better technique. So, right, swings a little bit better that way instead of dropping my thumb. Again, sometimes it's so spontaneous. I'm just playing and I'm expressing myself. My fingers, if they gotta do what they gotta do, to express myself. So again, here we're starting sharp 9, flat 13. There's a triplet, right? So flat 13. Flat 9, flat 13, 3, sharp 9, flat 9, 5. Right? You hear this happen a lot. What's the other way that happens? Right? That's another way that you hear that kind of line. So sharp 9, 3, flat 13, 7, sharp 9, flat 9. So it can go either way. That's a really nice altered language, right? Little sentence there that you can kind of use over your altered chords, or wherever you want to put an altered chord. You can go either way. There's a down and here's up. And it's always eighth note into the triplet, right? And tuplet, 3 and 4, and with that little anticipation at the end. Or, right? So we have this on the end of 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Okay, so here's the line. I can't remember it again. Now I'm going to this D minor, so I'm on the 5. Now again, this is the same progression from the first A, where we take the D minor and then we go up to another 2-5. So I could again kind of transition this and play the same thing over the 2-5. Now F minor 7 to B flat 7. Right? So I kind of did that before. But again, I changed the rhythm up, right? So you might want to add one little change. Maybe something like that. I kind of like that. I like that. So let me see if I can remember now. I was actually very surprised. I remembered the when I was looking back at the solo. I was like, oh my God, I remembered all of that in the first podcast of part 1. But I think that was it. Again, guys, I'm just trying to remember this here. Let me play it through one more time. I think those were all even. Okay, I like it. So now that was kind of a question mark at the end, right? It wasn't a closed statement because the phrase didn't end, and that's based on the harmonies, right? And you can kind of when you get better at feeling the harmonies in a tune, you can really take advantage of the harmonic structure. Like the first 4 bars ended with that major chord. It was a 2-5-1. It ended with a 2-5-1, so you can close your statement there. Now this 2 bars. The phrase isn't ended, right? We go from D minor to F minor to B flat, right? Then we go to A minor. So it's kind of more of a deceptive resolution there. We fall into this A minor. So we have, so it's kind of open here. And then I'm going to start a new phrase here, but I haven't resolved anything really. It's kind of just left open. Maybe I kind of lay back a little bit. So again, these 4 bars of I Should Care are kind of tricky, right? We have more of a simple A minor. Okay, so we just have A minor, minor 2-5 back to the A minor. So that's just pretty much all A minor. You can use A minor. I forget what I did, but I'm going to create something new. That was kind of the same line that I used before from part 1, right? I kind of like that. So I'm playing B, the 9 to the 5, or excuse me, 11, with an octave, right? We can add a little spice here, a little flavor with a roll here, which, again, listen to the difference. I mean, it's really the attention to detail in your solos with these little things add so much difference in sound. I could go, or I can go, right? What's more pop, right? It adds more of a pop when I have the chromatic roll here, right? Instead of, or... So basically, that's what I like here. And then going to the B minor 7 flat 5. Let me see. again, I'm trying to be honest with myself. I'm trying to create honest expression. I like that, right? So that was more of a simple express line. And if you can hear, hopefully you can hear the little hang back. I'm not going right, da 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 dee, da da. You know, that's more of just a general statement, right? 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and that would be more of like the bland statement. Instead, you want to focus on, as you notice, I hung back a little bit. And it added a little trill. So all these little small details are really going to spice up your playing. And a lot of you may ask, like, why? I'm kind of soloing like this, but there's no flavor to it. Well, this is some of these things you can really add in and kind of spice up your playing. Right, da 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 dee da da. Kind of making it almost a quarter note triplet there at the end. Again, with that little flavor, you could do a grace note here, or you can do a full roll. Right, so that just came out naturally, so I'm gonna leave that. Maybe you add a full D over F sharp, and again, this little chromatic, this little motion here, we have A minor 7 kind of over G, or A minor 7 over G. All right, so just standard A minor to A minor 7 over G to D over F sharp. Or 7. I kind of just like playing a regular triad there over the third. Right, so you could add a full chord there. Let me see what I like best. I think I like that octave sound because it matches what we did in the beginning, right? So it's complementing our very first portion of the line, right? So we start out with the octave. Sorry. So it's kind of like, you know, it's going back. Remember I talked about motifs and going back to what you played originally. So I like that a lot. So let me see if I can put these 12 measures together. Play. Yeah, something like that. I don't remember really. So there it is, first 12 measures. Now we have an ending phrase, right? This is the very last line in our tune. So a lot of times I like going to more of a G sus sound here to kind of reharm the last line a little bit, especially after this, after the D over the F sharp. Going to a sus chord sounds really nice. It's more of a churchy kind of sound, right? You got the D over the F sharp. Going to that sus sound's a really nice thing, right? You hear that? So that's why I personally usually do that a lot in this tune. However you want to voice it, that's if you're using, you know, if you're doing an arrangement. I'm improvising here though. So my right hand, let me see. It's funny because I'm trying to build a solo, but at the same time I'm trying to walk you through it. So I kind of like that. And then you're back into the top. So what I'm doing here is, again, I'm just playing with the G sus, right? So you can always think about sus. I like to think a lot about sus as the 7 triad. You can think about, because a hexatonic scale, right? You can use the 1 triad and the 7 triad. This is in jazz piano school. I talk about this, the course. But again, thinking about the 7 here is your triad, right? You can always play around with that 7 triad. You can also switch off, again, the hexatonic scale. McCoy loved to use is playing around with the triadic movements of your 1 and your 7 triad, so your F triad. So you're basically playing F triad and G triad, right? Or down. And you don't have to go, you can do any sort of movement. Sorry. Right, so, but again, over that sus chord, so I play a little sus, just a little bit, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then I go into a blues note here, which is essentially the flat 13 over the G7. So a little hint, guys, to spice up your 2-5-1s pretty much instantaneously. A lot of people will use the standard, your standard rootless voicing, right? Or your any natural extensions over your dominant chord are going to sound pretty old-timey, right? Kind of, here, listen to this. Kind of more along just neutral, right? When you add in these extensions like your flats, your flat 9s, your flat 13s, your blues notes, it's really going to add flavor and spice to those dominant chords, especially in the 2-5-1s, and give it some really nice heavy spice, right? Now this right here, this is technically kind of hard, right? So we got a lot of 16th notes happening. A lot of trills, right? A lot of 16th note trills here. So I don't really like that ending though. Wouldn't it be great if I could do this every solo, just nitpick it and just put it together? I kind of like that. I kind of like that. Add some more rhythm in there. I'm trying to figure out the best fingering here. That's not the best, right? But going from here, 4, 4. Oops, sorry. So here's the line. I'm still trying to figure it out here. What's best? There we go. So 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 5, 4. Going back up, right? It's a little tricky. So there it is. So let me see if I can put this together. Okay, I got to do this slowly here. Right, so again, we have the F minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. Again, leading to the 3rd, and then just approaching our 3rd of our E minor 7. A little pause, chromatic down to the 3rd of the A7. Our finishing phrase here, or sentence. like it. It's pretty good. It's nice. And again, now I'm staying a lot up in this register right here because I'm trying to break things down for you. But again, I always recommend going outside this register when soloing, right? Moving, a lot of movement if you're more technically able to move up and down the piano with arpeggios and things like that. Definitely using your other registers. I just realized I've been using a lot of this middle ground here, but just want to point that out. So here we go again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Screw that up at the end of my left hand. So there it is. Let me try it one more time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So that is the solo. Obviously, I forgot to mention you can go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast81 to download the notation of this solo, and you can see the video on jazzpianoschool.com. I need to, or you can click on the notes below to see the video as well. That will link back to the page at jazzpianoschool.com. But again, if you're looking for the notation of the solo, jazzpianoschool.com/podcast81. So I think I'm going to do another series of this, maybe a 2-part series on a different tune, maybe a different style, right? Maybe a slightly different style, different tempo. We'll see. Maybe ballad, maybe more of an up-tempo swing. I'll see, maybe Latin. But hope you guys enjoyed that, the analysis breakdown. Again, I really believe that playing with honesty is really amazing. I'm glad he said that. And having patience, right? It takes a lot to have patience to allow your honesty to come through. In Miles just leaving so much space, almost every note he played, no matter if it was a flub or he was playing with everything he had, right? Coltrane, just these giants, right? And you can tell, that's their true expression. That's why they sound so good. That's why they move us, right? It's moving to see true expression, true honesty in any form of art around the world. That's, it's just, it's so raw. So, excuse me, guys, I'm losing my voice here. But again, hope you guys had fun. I will do another series on this. Enjoy that, work through, do your own thing on the solo, taking some of my ideas and work through it exactly as I'm doing. Work out stuff like that. Play something. If you like it, stick with it. If you don't, scratch it. Keep working on a section till you find something you like. And you're going to get used to movements that you like, and you'll develop patterns. You're putting together the Legos, right? And this will develop your true expression through improv. So have fun with that, enjoy, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Happy practicing.